How's it going, guys? Brent Jones here. Today, I decided to give myself a bald fade with just using the Philips electric shaver. Along with this shaver, you do get 3 attachments, which I will be using. I decided to use something that maybe everybody has and see if it's possible to give yourself a fade just using a face shaver like this one. So, let's get started.
Alright, so I'm going to start my bald line beginning from the back, and I'm going to slowly work my way to the front. My shaver right now is on a 0 length. There is no rush in doing this, and you don't have to get your line perfectly straight in the beginning because you can always go back again with the shaver and clean up that line just to make it nice and smooth and have a nice clean arch going from the front of your head to the back. The number 5 guard, the longest guard. Now before using this, I want to comb my hair in the direction that it naturally flows in. And for me here, it's front to back. I want to maintain this throughout the haircut. But before using the shaver in the number 5 section of the hair, I'm going to start off at the very bottom just to see how much it's actually cutting, because I don't want it to cut too low, and it is easy to do that if you're going against the grain. Now the difference between going against the grain and with the grain, when you're going against the grain, it's going to cut at its true length, versus when you're going with the grain, it's actually going to cut a little bit longer. For example, if I'm using a 5, it's probably going to cut it at a 6. And then I'll comb it out just to keep those hairs flowing in that one particular direction, and then I'll take the number 5 and just flow it back nice and gently, nice and smooth, front to back motion, going with the grain. Once I'm happy with the way one side is turned out, I'll go ahead and treat the other side the exact same way. Now that I've figured out how the number 5 cuts, I can go straight to the top and start cutting to blend the number 5 and the number 3 together. The number 3 guard. Just like number 5, I'm going to start off at the very bottom in the number 1 section and really feel what the shaver is doing. Again, I don't want to cut off too much hair in the number 5 section, so I want to stay in the number 3 section and start to blend the number 3 in the number 1 section. The number 1 guard. With this, I'm going to use the exact same techniques that I use for number 3 and for number 5. I'm going to start off at the very bottom just to get an idea of how much it's cutting and really take my time and try to get those lines blended between 3 and 1. Now I'll go front to back, going with the grain to blend 3 to 1, and I'll go against the grain to blend 1 to 0. I'll do multiple passes and really be light with the shaver just so I can really get a nice clean fade. At this point, I'm pretty much comfortable with the way the haircut's turning out. It seems to be faded, so I'm going to go ahead and start lining up the rest of my hair. I tried using this shaver as a liner, and it didn't really seem to work too well, so I went back to using it just as a regular shaver, kind of like a razor, and you can see it really gets those lines pronounced and defined. Just like the side of the head, working the shaver along the face, you don't need to rush, there's no rush. I just use gentle strokes to really find that line and get a nice smooth curvature. I threw on the number 1 guard just to kind of trim down the side of the cheeks, flatten out and smoothen out the beard. Now the mustache area and around the lips, I did have a little bit of a hard time kind of lining it up nice. I think I'm going to go back and use a proper liner just to get those lines nice and sharp, but all in all, it still does a pretty good job. It does take some time, and it is easy to make a lot of mistakes when you're using it in that area for that purpose. So now with one last check, I'm just going to do a quick look around just to see if there's any areas that do need cleaning up. And I see in the point area that I could line it up just a little bit more. I don't want to go too much at it because it is easy at this point to make a mistake, and you could easily throw the whole fade off. Now with the number 1 guard, I'm just going to put it back on the shaver and just work that bottom section of the number 1 and 0 area just to really get it nice and clean and trim up any little areas that might have any hairs that are out of place.
Alright, so I'm going to stop right there. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching this video. It was just a fun video to see if I can achieve a bald fade with just using a face shaver. Obviously this shaver, this Philips shaver, is not meant to do bald fades. In the midst of just having some fun with it, I decided to try it, and on some level it worked. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you on the next one. Hit the subscribe button, don't forget to like, and please leave your comments down below. Peace.